Today, we're going to be taking a look at what's in my bag. For reference, I'm 1009 rated, unsponsored. I can throw anything I want. Start out with the putters. First, we got 3 Nomads. These I really like the feel of, the flight of, and the grip of them. MVP Electron has great grip in all conditions. I'll switch out between Electron and Electron Firm depending on the weather and how warm it is. Next up, we've got some utility putters. We've got a Glitch. I don't really throw this thing on the course. It only comes out in very specific situations. I keep it just for fun. A Berg. Those that know me personally, you've seen this thing do some crazy stuff. I've thrown in with this thing many times. It's won me tournaments single-handedly, and it's lost me a tournament. Really love this thing for short approaches, something I want to give a bid but don't want to go too far past. Now for my main throwing putters, I don't know if you can consider the second 2 actually throwing putters, but we've got a Cosmic Neutron Envy. This thing is really beat up. I've owned this thing I think since these came out, and it now at lower speeds will hold any line dead straight, and at higher speeds it's kind of like my 20 to 30 degree hyzer flip up and maybe get a slight turn and just sit down. And then we'll have a newer Envy in the bag, and like Proton, Plasma, or Neutron, they're all pretty similar. Has a bit more stability. I can really hammer on it, get it out to 350 and past that. I can really rip on this thing and it won't turn. One of my favorites, a very old swirly Neutron Entropy. This thing, as with everything, they're all like 172 to 175. Forehand workhorse. This thing is so beat up that it no longer has the beef that a normal Entropy has, but it still has the torque resistance and wind resistance. It doesn't have the glide that an Envy has, so it won't be picked up by the wind as much. And then a brand new Entropy. This one's Cosmic Neutron, board flat, very overstable. I can rip over on it. This thing is great in the wind, great when it's just a wide open up shot inside 300 feet. Dependable, does exactly what I want every single time. Some of these newer Entropies feel a little deeper, which I'm not really jiving with. They're a bit harder to forehand properly. That's it for putters. Oh, a dog. Hi. Next up in my bag are the mid-ranges. I carry usually about 4 of these, 3 to 5 depending on the course. I really feel I can shape lines with a few mid-ranges, and I don't really need many more than that. First up, 1.1 Quantum Solstice. This thing is so beat up that it'll actually flip up and turn. It's great for wood shots, hyzer flip turnovers, something like a high stalling turnover. Just great disc. I love throwing this thing. It forehands pretty nicely too because it's so flat. I don't use it as much as I should for forehands. Next, a much newer Quantum Solstice. This is a 1.2 run double G signature series disc. Point and shoot laser for higher arm speeds. At lower powers, it's kind of like a dependable, it's gonna fade on you mid-range, but once you get up to that 70-ish mile per hour mark, these things will just, you can hold any line with them. You can put them on turn and they'll turn, put it on hyzer and it'll just hold the hyzer to the ground. You throw it flat, it'll just go straight. Maybe with a slight fade at the end. These are more for like my forehand slot above my Entropy. Entropies don't go very far on forehand, but these are pretty nice. I can get these up to like 320, 350 on a forehand if I really pump it. Although I'm not one to throw power forehands. This first run, Prism Plastic Pyro instead of Prism Proton. They messed up on the stamp on the first run of these and they came out goofy. These are great. Board flat, stiff. This one is so beat up, it'll actually turn when I throw it. Got a much newer Prism Neutron Pyro. I can rip it flat on a backhand, it'll go straight and then have a dependable fade at the end. On a forehand, it's great for anything I need to go right inside of 300 feet that I don't want to power up on an Entropy for. Fights the wind a little better than my putters. Awesome disc. It gets enough love on the internet, I think. Anytime there's a thread asking what overstable mid-range should I get? It's like the first one up there. Moving on to the fairway drivers. We've got 6 of them right now. This is the most 9 speeds I've ever bagged. I don't currently bag 6, 7, or 8 speeds because I feel like I can just power down on these or power up on my mid-ranges. Although, if I find a good run of like T-Bird or something that I really like, I might start bagging them. Take a few of these out because there's a little bit of overlap in here. Flippy guy, my Streamline Lift. I've had this thing in the bag for years. It's got road rash on it, chunks out the bottom. It's really flippy at this point. It's basically my roller disc or like a scramble easy flip up disc. If I don't have a lot of power in the woods, I can get this thing going pretty far. I'm doing the best shots of my life with it. Next, we got a factory second blank, wiped factory second star Thunderbird. Love this thing, just absolutely love it. Forehand flip ups, backhand flip up turnovers. This thing is just a menace in the woods. If I ever lose this thing, I'll be really sad because this is probably my favorite Thunderbird ever. Somebody who throws Innova, who has been throwing Innova for a lot longer than me, said this was a factory second Germbird run from some time in the last few years. I don't doubt it because it's board flat. Amazing disc. Next, we've got a random 4-time Champ Thunderbird. Max weight once again. Used bin fine from BRP. I get so many used discs out of the used bin, it's unbelievable. This thing has a bit more dome to it, a little bit more stability. I can pump it flat and it'll just give me the slightest, gentlest right turn, come back left. Kind of like if I want a flat release or something that'll like push on a hyzer, this is the guy. This is my rock disc. This is basically the fairway driver I throw if I don't care about it getting chunked up. This is a max weight Champ Firebird out of, once again, a used bin. It's flat, but it's not super beefy. And after hitting rocks at least once a round out here in Texas, this thing will actually hyzer flip for me, which is sweet. I didn't ever expect to like a Firebird like that. It's got the battle axe kind of sharpied onto it. Pretty cool. I'm not sure if this one's staying in the bag, but it's a nice domey Champ Firebird. It has a bit more glide than like a flatter one, but it's still quite overstable. When I really rip it hard and flat, it'll go 380 to 400 something, just on an easy line. It glides a bit more, it'll fade a little bit harder. It's nice. It's teaching me how to forehand disc with dome too, which is the problem I have with that other red Thunderbird, is just too much dome. Liking this one a lot right now. And lastly, the flare. I've been bagging this one for quite a long time. This thing is so beat up. It does not fly like a flare anymore, and I love it. I hope to never lose it. It's got signatures on it because I lost a round to Cal and Nick on Anthony Bodanza's channel. We didn't lose, we actually won. We thought we tied, so we lost in a playoff. So they signed my disc, but it's got some aces on it. Great flyer, chop over forehands, spike hyzers with the backhand. Good guy. That wraps up my fairway driver 9-speed slot. Do you have any suggestions for 7 speeds or any particular runs of Thunderbirds I should look for? Leave them in the comments below. Last up, distance drivers. Currently, there are 5 in my bag. We'll start from the flippiest. This is the flippiest 2021 Heimberg Destroyer I've ever seen, and it's glorious. Usually the teal ones are just overstable, beefy as heck, good amount of glide. This one is like hyzer flip turnover or roller disc. Max distance forehands, high swinging turnovers, something like a low penetrating flip up, flat, slight turn, kind of like an Eagle McMahon type of line. This is the guy. Another used bin fine. Can't believe I got this thing. Oh, another plane. I got this thing for like 10 bucks in a used bin. It's been awesome. It's quite beat up. Mild amount of dome, just great in the hand. This is like my bomber. It's just a random run of Star Destroyer from the last few years. This one has the Preserve Championship stamp on it from, I think, 2 years ago. It's got a good amount of dome. It's got an overstable profile, but it's been beat up quite a bit. So now it's just my all-out bomber. If I need distance on the course, this is the guy. It fits my forehand really well too. It's something I can grip flat on a forehand and it's not just going to dump over to the left. Love this thing. 2023 Heimberg Destroyer. I've kind of been like playing with this one in the bag for a little bit. I don't think I need it in the bag, but I like having it in case like this specific stability. It's like 1.5 steps up from that yellow Destroyer, and if I rip it flat, it'll just give me a turn, good amount of turn, and then come back at the end. Forehand, it's a bit more dependable than my yellow one. It'll hold up in a headwind a little better. I feel like once one of these gets really beat up, it'll just be an absolute bomber because the profile looks great. Now, for my favorite distance driver that I have, it's an Emperor, so technically a Destroyer, one of the Destroyer molds, not sure which one. But this run of Halo S-Blend Emperor came out great. This particular color is an overstable bomber. Fresh out of the box, I couldn't get this thing to turn at all. It's just my workhorse. If I need pinpoint accuracy at more than 450 feet, this is my guy. I can push it farther than that if I put some Anheuser onto it. This one's been marinating in my bag for quite a while, so it might get replaced. I have another backup. Actually, right here, this one has the Eric Oakley stamp on it. It's the same run. One is a bit more overstable because it's pretty fresh. These Emperors, amazing. I wish I could just have as many of these as I wanted. Now for my beefcake slot, I've got a Joel Freeman Color Glow Juggernaut. Although I'm not quite sure how I like how many bubbles are in the rim on these. I've been hitting more and more rocks and trees with it, and it's starting to get scuffed up a little more. And so it's not really holding up into headwinds as much as I'd like. I need a new disc in this slot, I think. I don't want to keep hunting these down. These feel good, they fly great until you hit too many rocks with them, and they start to get too much wear on the edges and start flipping. Otherwise, kind of like my Spike Heiser disc at a distance, if I need like a chop over flex line, forehand or backhand. And that's all of the distance drivers. Some reserves that I have in the bag for down here in Texas are this Energy. If you've never thrown one of these are probably the most overstable disc on the market besides the tilt. It's basically a 13-speed tilt. It'll handle any headwind you throw at it. Any amount of Anheuser, it's just going to fight right out of it and fade as hard as it can. This one's pretty swirly. I love it. If it's really windy, I put this in the bag. Then this new Halo S-Blend Emperor from last year's run. Great disc. Got it from Eric Oakley himself, actually. Hounded him down after the preserve and bought these off of him. Thanks, Eric. I love these. Best run ever. Maybe my favorite distance driver of all time. And then I have a brand new flare as well that I'm put in the bag or take out of the bag depending on how windy it is. Once again, these are just crazy overstable. Love them. Just love them. I never have to like search for a certain run of Firebird that is going to be overstable. I can just go to a store, buy a flare, and it's just going to be a beefcake. Now for the extras in my bag. First, right on the side, you've got a drive bag. Bought these at Ledgestone. This is great. This one's split open, and I re-sewed it back together. It still works. Bushnell rangefinder, great tool to have. Although sometimes I like playing rounds where I don't use it, so I keep my eye kind of fresh in case I don't have one or they get banned in competition play in the future. I can still use my eyes as like in my depth perception. Kendama, Sweets Kendamas. If you know me, I love playing with these things. Any backup, I'll take this thing out. I want any excuse to play with these on the course. Shout out Matt Sweets, cool guy. Gotten to play a round of disc golf with him. It's pretty damn good. See how many whirlwinds I can do in a row. 3. Oh, dang it. All right, you get the gist. Resistance band, warm up, get the shoulder warmed up. This is a must-have in case you throw any amount of forehands. If your shoulder is not warmed up when you're throwing a forehand, elbow's gonna hurt, your shoulder's gonna hurt, you're gonna injure yourself. Always warm up properly. Hand warmer. When it's cold, my hands need to be warm. It's probably the most important thing for my putting. If my hands are cold, I can't feel the disc properly and my fingers don't work right. So I need a hand warmer. Got a pocket radar. I just love bringing this thing out sometimes. Just a fun thing to have. It's not really super useful, but if you want to see how fast you're throwing, see me on the course, hit me up. I can take some radar of your shots. My personal best is 77. I usually hover anywhere from 70 to 72. On a good day, I'll get 74, 75, and just a one-off thing was a 77 that I just threw straight to the ground. Wish I could have seen that thing fly. Thing of lotion. I have really dry hands. They get really scaly, and if I don't put lotion on before my round, I'll end up splitting my fingers open. So, must have for me. Keep a thing of lotion in my bag at all times. I'll usually put it on before a round, and then, oh, another plane. As many towels as I can fit into my bag. Oh my god, how many planes are going over my head right now? Thanks, bro. Frisbee club.